Today's podcast primarily about Marcus Morris, who is becoming an interesting topic the past couple of days, in past couple of months, because it seems like he might be the most logical guy to get traded out of this group of what seems to be really excellent guys. But we have a whole bunch to talk about. We have Cole Zwicker from the Step Back from the Stepien, his thoughts on Mook coming up in just a little bit. But guys, Marcus Morris, a good year last year, maybe not great, but a good solid year for Marcus last year. 13.6 points per game, 5.5 rebounds, and assists, surprisingly, a game. Shot decently well from three-point range, 37%. I know he was up and down for the most part, and in the playoffs mostly down, but Morris, given the role he was supposed to have, probably was a really good fit there. If you don't agree, Zaire?
I have zero complaints about Marcus Morris. I thought that he played an excellent role, especially down the stretch in the regular season when bodies were just limited. I mean, he wasn't available in the early part of the season, and they really needed his toughness, his veteran leadership that he can provide on such a young team. A lot of people kind of discounted that when he came in. You know, they kind of said, oh, well, Marcus Morris, he's a knucklehead or whatever, but he really proved to be a good locker room guy, a good morale guy, a guy that just kind of let the opponents know, hey, these aren't the same Celtics as before. You can't just push us around. We're gonna roar back, and I love that about him.
Yeah, I'm way into the flask, Dad. I actually am holding a flask in my pocket throughout the entire podcast. I will, somewhat frequently take sips from this thing throughout the podcast today because he is the flask Dad. LP, in terms of bringing toughness to the team, it seems like this team doesn't really need a ton of toughness. They have a bunch of guys on it that are already tough. You have Shemi Ojeleye, who's working out like a maniac right now, Marcus Smart, Terry Rozier, a bunch of guys that can kind of fill that role. But Morris does give them something a little bit different. I think he does give them not only an edge on the bench, but just a coolness factor that you can't understate.
Oh, no, he's one of the coolest guys on the team. I mean, we got a lot of cool ones like Jaylen Brown, for one.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Mook, you don't want to be caught, on the wrong side of Mook. He will scream in your face and maybe punch you in the face. You never know. But the biggest thing for me is Mook is the minister of the mid-range. We know this. And
minister of the mid-range. I like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There was a stat rolling around Twitter. It was like the shooting percentage from the mid-range. You know who's worse than that? Ben Simmons. You know who's not worse than that? Marcus Morris, shooting like 43% from the mid-range. Also, he's better than LeBron James shooting. He's like in the 30s. Marcus Morris, he gives you maybe not as many layups, but he gives you all the mid-range shots in the world. He's not afraid to take those.
Our producer, go ahead, Zaire. Sorry, I almost cut you off.
When you said that this team doesn't need any toughness or any more toughness, I disagree. In the front court, it hasn't necessarily been the toughest front court since KG has left. We've had nice guys in the front court and guys that have skill and guys that can, like the Kellys and the Tyler Zellers and people like that. And Marcus Morris brings that. He just reminds me of a current Rasheed Wallace. Just
a crazy guy who you don't want to fight. You don't want to
mess with him. And he's intelligent on the court as well. So it's like you don't know what to do with the guy because most crazy people you think, oh, I can outsmart him. But you can't really outsmart Marcus Morris. He's going to figure the game out as well. So yeah, I think that toughness up front, it wasn't there prior to this year.
Defensively, Morris was, again, on a team that was full of really great defenders, gave them something a little bit different. And I think eventually Shemi Ojeleye takes that kind of role from Morris as a guy that can body LeBron and some of these burlier guys like Zion Williamson, who's coming eventually down the road. These burlier guys that play the wings position that can normally push guys over. But with a guy like Morris, who is basically the same body type as LeBron, you can't push him out of the way. It's not like Smart where you can shoot over him. It's not like Jaylen Brown where you can basically just back him down. It's not like Tatum who's light, can't back him down. Morris is a rock solid defender, both as an individual defender and a team defender. But Matt, let's hear from Cole Zwicker of the Step Back and the Stepien on what he has to say about Marcus Morris.
Yeah, Marcus Morris's role in the Celtics is very hard to ascertain, especially with the turn of Gordon Hayward, how well Shemi Ojeleye played his rookie year as far as guarding Giannis-type Simmons. I think that's kind of the role you want Morris in, I guess, even though Morris is more of an on-ball scoring threat. So I do think that he can still be a bench guy who can come in, get you baskets, can post guys up. He has that post-up gravity inside. As far as this season only, I think this is probably his last year as a Celtic if he isn't moved in the season. I mean, if they try to duck the tax, maybe he's the casualty there. I don't really know what his role is long term on this roster, but I do think he can still provide value as, again, it's kind of a bully for who can get his own shot at times that a lot of these other guys can't really match in that specific regard.
Anybody have any hot takes on that?
I mean, I constantly hear his name brought up as far as trades, media-wise, podcast-wise, or whatever. I really think, and I think that the media focuses on the future too much, and this is a this-year team. I mean, yeah, they have a bright future, but this team is built to win this year. No, they don't have Kevin Durant and, 3 other MVPs or whatever, but they are built to win this year. And I don't think you worry about the future with Marcus Morris. If he's not on the team next season, after the upcoming one, so what? But I think this year, go in as loaded as possible. And there's no such thing as too much talent, as we've seen that the Boston Celtics' biggest enemy, biggest nemesis hasn't been LeBron James, it's been the injury bug.
Yeah, I mean, I think for trading him, I think it all comes down to how he responds to having a reduced role, because I do think, if you're adding in a start, like an all-star quality forward, he's going to lose some minutes. And if he's not okay with that, and depending on how Semi responds, you might have to consider trading him just because he might be creating a stink in the locker room or something. And that's when it's cool that they have until the trade deadline, I think, to get under the tax if they had to, and it would still count for this year. So that's kind of cool, as a parachute in case. Yeah. It's but if he is working and it's he's adding to the depth, I think you hold on to him, because the goal for this team is to win a championship, like Sarah, you're saying, and you need somebody like you don't want to put him on LeBron, and nobody stops LeBron, but he did pretty good on LeBron. I
doesn't hate
it. So that's, and now that we have Kawhi in the conference, he might be a useful person if Kawhi wants to drop 30 points or whatever. So
yeah, Morris can be a pretty useful person for the Celtics in terms of defense, but you need to make the most useful, get used to and take a look at the most useful service online right now. And that's simplecontacts.com. Today's show brought to you by simplecontacts.com. Simple Contacts, the easiest way to shop for lenses. It's all online. It's super easy. Use the promo code CelticsBeat for $30 off your first order at checkout. Again, you go online, go to simplecontacts.com, answer a couple of questions. They tell you, basically what's coming your way. You pick this particular lens from this company, or this lens from this company, this lens from this company. You pick your favorite. All of a sudden, boom, they're at your front door. You don't have to wait in line for hours. You don't have to go see a doctor. Somebody's going to review your stuff for you. Now, it's not a replacement for your periodic eye exam. But if you want to update your script in minutes, or just order some contacts on the cheap, use simplecontact.com and use our promo code CelticsBeat for $30 off your first order. Evan Valenti, Zaire, LP, Lucky's Pipe with you. Real quick, wrap it up on Marcus Morris. What you expect out of him in 2018, 2019, Zaire?
What I expect is a bit more of what we saw last year. A great pro. A person who, and everyone's talking about how, Gordon's coming back and his minutes are going to dip. His minutes dipped last year. His minutes went from, he played, 35 minutes a game, 32 minutes a game. Then all of a sudden he comes to Boston, he plays 26 minutes a game. But his production actually was as good or better than ever in his career. So I think that that's a good thing. And he's playing with more talented players. He's going to create better shots, create better opportunities. So if he can't be productive in this environment, sure, let him go. But I believe he can be, because he has that IQ and he's that guy that can do the job.
LP?
I think he's gonna be looking for those fadeaways, and he's gonna be not looking for the easy layups.
That's it. Marcus Morris, the maestro of the mid-range, the minister of the mid-range, the man. Look, in terms of, I'll wrap up very quickly on Morris. Morris is a great professional. He means a lot to the younger guys on this team, okay? A lot of people inside the Celtics locker room, players, people that cover the team, Mike Gorman, everybody has talked about how much, that Morris's presence means to guys like Jaylen Brown and guys like Jason Tatum. He is very valuable to what they do. I do not think he'll be on the roster at the end of the year. I think he'll be a roster crunch. Eventually, he'll have to get moved. But, I mean, again, here's a guy that never, verbally complained too much to anybody, really. I think he's a consummate professional. I think he does what he needs to do to get, do what he does. But in terms of Morris himself, hang around for a while, and if you just look at the rest of the people that played for Brad Stevens and for the Boston Celtics, you're going to get paid, because that's what happens to anybody that plays for Brad Stevens. You get paid eventually by somebody somewhere. Should be a lot of fun.